Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. We're focused on talking to food and beverage brands that are on a mission to make the world better.
Hey, everyone. Duncan here with another episode of the Firebelly Social Show, where I chat with founders and leaders of mission-driven food and beverage brands. So a little bit different. We really dig into the mission that the founder has or the mission that the company has in general. Thank you for tuning in to this latest episode. Got a great show lined up for you, talking to Sara, who's a founder and CEO of Sarilla, and you're going to love it. The episode's brought to you by Firebelly Marketing, a company I helped found. At Firebelly, we help mission-driven food and beverage brands bring people closer together through social media marketing. So if you'd like to learn more about Firebelly or social media marketing to create more community, go to firebellymarketing.com to learn more. And everyone, I really am so excited to welcome Sara Delaney from Sarilla, because our family tasted the product last year in Asheville in March. And so it's, beyond just getting excited and then, getting her on the list and thinking, oh, wow, who knows if she's so busy, she'll come. And here she is today. So Sara, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here. And I'm excited that you discovered Sarilla in our hometown. That's really cool.
It's so interesting. I didn't have this experience with Jamba Jan, who's the founder of Rowdy Mermaid, but I did drink Rowdy Mermaid in his little hometown outside of Boulder, and they knew him at the grocery store. So
that's so cool. Yeah, it is. It's really special to still be able to attend like local demos. And I was at a festival this weekend in person. And just kind of whether, people know I'm the founder or sometimes I go incognito, but I definitely know most of the local grocery store managers.
So just a little bit, I hadn't planned on this question right now, but what is it like as a founder when you go to a store that, is carrying your product, or you happen to be shopping and then you see someone walking by and they got your product in their grocery cart?
Yeah, that's an awesome feeling. It happened the other day. Actually, someone texted me a picture. It was a friend, and they were in a grocery store and saw someone with a few cans in their car and texted it to me. So it's seeing your product in the wild is awesome. I remember the first time I saw my cans in a recycling bin. Like, that's really cool too.
That's the ultimate. There you go.
Yeah, that's the ultimate, because it's like they finished it and crushed it, and then they took time to recycle it.
That's awesome. And you've got quite a story. You have been alcohol-free since 2009, 2006?
Seven.
Okay, so that's a long time.
Yeah.
And you've had this vision to make the world a better place. And you've had some sort of pivotal moments along the way. And all this has come together. And Sarilla is sort of the synthesis of all of this. Catch our audience up, so they can understand, just quickly on what you've gone through and how this all happened.
Yeah, I think there were two main drivers really to build this brand. And one was the time that I spent living in Rwanda and working with especially women there. I was a few years sober when I moved there in 2009. So actually it was 2006, I think, is when I got sober in August. I'm coming up on 18 years, so whatever the math is. And then also being alcohol free, like in just the world. And at that time, it was not at all cool to be sober. People didn't talk about being alcohol free or in recovery or any of that. I mean, mental health topics were still pretty taboo. And I think, it was probably evolving before 2020, but that time that so many of us were at home and like really had to sit with ourselves and really, I'm sure it was very uncomfortable, to say the least, for a lot of folks to look at behaviors and vices and relationships and to not be able to run, to not be able to escape the whatever it is, and for me, the reason that I drank alcohol it's very complex, but I'm definitely grateful that I was alcohol free by the time 2020 hit. I think that would have been a tough time to navigate moderation. So for me, it's been a journey of kind of discovering moderation in other areas of my life. And it's interesting also to look at the parallels between entrepreneurship and recovery and different addictive tendencies and obsessive thinking. So yeah, I created Sarilla really as a way to address the needs in U.S. society, which was offering a celebratory alcohol-free option. Created it originally in kegs that we could have on tap at local breweries. So I produced 5-gallon kegs that were refrigerated. And just did that on a very small scale while I still had some other jobs going here in 2017, 2018. Started doing events, and really that was a great opportunity to get proof of concept and get feedback on the flavors. And then 2019, we launched in our first grocery stores, and then started really just focusing on canning and grocery and a little bit of online in 2020. So, that was really the motivation for the product. Seeing, that really still the primary beverages being offered in social venues, restaurants, and even breweries here, as they're supposed to be relatively family friendly. It's still alcohol, soda, or water. But we know that's shifting the past few years. There's definitely more options now, but the work that I was doing in Rwanda was really more on the ingredients and sourcing side. I became very passionate about the tea as a healthy choice, and could really support like mind, body, soul, and then just very passionate about partnering with the farmers and making a difference economically. Up until that point, I was the founder of a nonprofit. So through that work, we were partnering with genocide survivors, offering trauma healing resources, stress management tools, and then eventually we transitioned into entrepreneurship training. So that's kind of the backstory on my work in Rwanda, and I continue to partner with people there.
I mean, what a transformative experience that must have been for you to be in Rwanda for a year. And even that was, what was that in 2000 and something?
2009.
2009. And so the very real downstream effects of genocide still very much in play there. And to be amidst that, what was that like?
Yeah, it was an interesting experience to go with the flow of what other people might think is almost an absurd idea to move to Rwanda, having never even been to that part of the world. I had been to North Africa, and that's about it. But to really trust the feeling of this is flowing, this is right. I know that I'm meant to go, and it's interesting. I think a lot of our culture tells us that like things need to feel hard to be right. Or if it doesn't feel hard, uncomfortable, then maybe we're not working at something the right way. But I've also experienced the opposite, where some of the best things in my life have happened personally and professionally. It's actually gone very easily. And it's just a strain, like to trust that and to know it's meant to be is, I think sometimes people sabotage themselves, like without meaning to. So I was offered a job in Rwanda, moved there, everything fell into place. I arrived, I felt like I was coming home. We had a house lined up, jobs lined up, everything lined up. Like this was not my experience in life. I am not the kind of person that everything has happened easily. I've almost always had to work at things. So it was a really amazing experience to have the opportunity to move there and to learn from people there. We ran a restaurant. I worked with, I think we had a staff of 30 people. I was, like I said, a few years alcohol free. So instead of going out for a beer after work, especially in the restaurant industry, we were surrounded by alcohol, a lot of expats drinking. And I would have some tea with some women and then just head home. And that was a really incredible journey for me. It also unlocked a lot of work that I needed to still do. Being surrounded by, yes, a lot of resilience, but also a lot of really tragic, gut-wrenching stories brought a lot of my own stuff up. And so I knew that I had some work to do before I would be at a resilient level that I needed to be at to run a global business.
That's tremendous. That's tremendous. And I think that,
And I do believe that it's like incredibly important for all of us, if we're going to be a parent, if we're going to be managing other people, building teams, building a company and a platform where we can use our voice and our influence to take responsibility for our own health, physical, mental. I think it's a responsibility.
I think that's critical. Being responsible for your own health is not a popular subject with founders. I'll tell you, I mean, that question almost always comes up on our show. And the answer is usually like 90% of the time, like, I could do a better job. It's usually like you beautifully illustrated that earlier by saying you just replace one obsessive behavior with another obsessive behavior. I am so important, right, that I have to be involved or it won't happen. And the founder should be most aware on that team of their health, because everyone in some way, shape, or form is ultimately relying on them. And so, getting out in the morning or the evening, getting your workout in, eating properly, sleeping properly is so critical. I'm so glad you brought that up. And, it's not, I mean, I don't know if you've ever met Arshad Bal. He's the founder of Amrita Foods, and he's really, really taken off on this thing where his entries on LinkedIn are about, he got out for a bike ride and said, screw it to, inventory or, overseeing something or launching something. He had to go get his bike ride in. And so I applaud you for that. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's balance in that, right? Because I could take that. I mean, I went through a stint where I would say I was like borderline addicted to running. I discovered running later in life. I did track and field my freshman year of high school, and I got shin splints so bad I could not run like the rest of the season. And so I just got this idea in my head that I didn't have the body for running. And then I was working with this woman who is a marathoner and helping her with sponsorship a number of years ago. And she just taught me really how to run. And so long story short, like I fell in love with running. It became my outlet, and I think I turned that into a temporary addiction. I still enjoy running, but for me, it's like, okay, I've got an hour for my workout today. I almost every day I carve out an hour plus like, change, shower, whatever. I don't even take time to drive to the gym anymore. And on the weekends, I might do like a longer trail run or something like one day without really an end time. But it's like, well, what can I fit into that hour? Whereas in the past, if I was really stressed or anxious about something, I think I use that as a way to avoid. I would say, oh, I'm going to go clear my head, but it was more of like an escapism. So I think only we can know, like we have to know ourselves so well. We have to have that internal barometer where it's like, what's my intention with this? Am I putting my head in the sand with something that really needs to get done today? Or is this like, 45, 60-minute break going to help me get back on my game? And then I'm going to get back to it.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And I think, the other piece is that if it can wait, it will wait. If it can't wait, can someone else do it? And if someone's going to be, an asshole about something silly, better not to work with them. Maybe that's a privilege or a luxury belief to even think that, but I feel like sometimes that just helps you down the road, and so you're right, it is about balance. So I wanted to ask you about
I wish you had our drink, by the way. I gotta have my green tea because it's like 1:30. I'm coming up on my caffeine expiration date for the day.
So I was just recently in Morocco, and
Ooh, I love Morocco.
so we were in Marrakesh, and you got the green tea going, right? With the pulling the teapot real high and with the mint, mint tea. And I have to tell you, I never really liked green tea. And then the guy told me in Marrakesh, he says, maybe you haven't had it the right way.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I
the
love the way they do that there too, because it's like it's so hot. And I couldn't believe they're drinking hot tea all day. And when I was there, I didn't realize it had caffeine. I was like, okay, this is mint, sugar, it's very sweet. But yeah, it is tasty.
and I think with 30, 40 milligrams, so it's not hardcore, but it's a gentle rise and a
Yeah.
gentle kind of taper. So I agree with you. I must get on to some Sarilla soon. But I
Well,
want
look, let me say the thing about green tea is that it's very sensitive to steep time and temperature. So most people think it's going to be bitter and astringent because it goes too long. And I learned for our green tea, it's 90 seconds. I mean, that's as much as I steep. I
really.
don't like bitter tea. Yeah. And there's this point where too many tannins come out of whether it's green or black or white. So you have to catch it before that like tannin go over. Some people like it really strong. And also if you want a really smooth green tea, just do a cold steep. So I'll just make like a mason jar, tea leaves, water, put it in the fridge overnight, and then filter out the leaves. And that's really nice.
Oh, well, there you go. I can, it's like tea moments with Sarah. So
Tea moments. I like that.
I mean, I'm hardcore tea, and I love when I learn new things. It also seems like this is a wonderful time for anything tea in the American economy. I was just seeing, I think it's Revival Tea who's doing like a community round, and I was looking at their info over the weekend, and there are 330 something tea product manufacturers in the United States, as of
Okay.
4,000 something coffee manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
We look at the stats, right? 50 states, 4,000. It's like that is a lot of coffee manufacturers in every state. So I think we really do need more tea. And tea culture is a little bit slower too, I feel. Whether it's you're drinking a ready to drink tea or you're steeping it, tea culture tends to be a little bit slower.
Tea is really young in this country. I mean, we have some very old brands in the iced tea category and the tea bags, but I think the younger generation is seeing tea as very cool, but they're doing like, and this was part of the whole DIY, like stay at home thing, is like making really cool infusions and steeping with loose leaf. And um, I taught a class at the World of Tea Expo a few years ago and talking about really is this kind of what happened with the third wave of coffee in the mid 90s when Starbucks was popping? Is that what's going on right now with tea? And when I say tea, I mean more like loose leaf, premium, Cumulus sinensis. I know we have lots of herbal things going on too, but I think people are getting that tea bags also are, kind of it's sort of like the ground coffee that was in a can, and people realize like it doesn't take much more to make a really excellent cup of tea, whether it's hot or cold. And to avoid those tea bags is really important for health, human health and environmental health.
I mean, it is interesting how, I completely agree with you. Like finding good tea is a journey for many people because and one that they abandon because they go to the grocery store, they know they're supposed to drink tea when they don't feel good, and then they get no names, but they get something that looks sort of quaint, like in a Santa Claus way, and it's a paper tea bag, and it's just like it's awful. There's no flavor. I think that people want big flavor. They want big flavor.
Mhm.
And I think I wanted to weave you in here because I loved your thoughts about crop to cup, and also I've heard that you're obsessive about all the details along the way. So maybe you can share a bit
Who
about that.
told you that?
I heard you talking in another show. You were like, I want to know what's going on in the soil. And,
Oh, yeah.
I want to know where the water is coming from when I'm working with the co-manufacturer. And I look at the water reports, and I think that's so critical and important and wonderful that you do that.
It's because, I mean, I was at an event this weekend. I mentioned there was a great person, had a coffee cart and still in college. Like, I love seeing this like new entrepreneurship just like blossoming. And it was like 95 degrees. I wanted an iced coffee at some point. And but I saw that the ice was coming from like one of those machines, in a bar or restaurant, you're just scooping in the plastic. It's like very generic ice and it's probably dirty. And then I thought about the water, the tap water that's making the coffee, and I couldn't do it. Like, and then, we're always told not to drink the ice when we're traveling in certain countries, but even in the US, like I don't. And I'm like, now that I know the risks of drinking certain municipal waters and even certain filtration systems that don't work and PFAS in the water, I don't want to go through life scared, but if I'm not gonna like drink that or have my family drink that, then why would I make a product like that?
No, I mean, exactly. I mean, I think that's the visionary in you carrying through into execution. I mean, I was laughing in agreement when I heard you on that show. I think it was the crafting show that you went on when you were first starting, and you
Oh
made
yeah.
tea on the show,
Yeah.
and I think you guys did a sensory test with water.
With Puff, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna see him on Monday. I'm doing a new flavor for a restaurant group here, and I'm gonna go back into that lab and run some new tests. I'm so excited. That's like one of my favorite places to be, the R&D lab. It is so much fun, but I just don't get enough time there anymore.
And it's interesting, right? Because it really what it made me think about, and I want our listeners to think about that is it isn't enough. Well, it's certainly cool to have great packaging, and you do have great packaging, but it isn't enough to look at the package and say, hey, this is what's up. You got to read what's on the package, right? Is it organic or is it not organic? What's the process that the company is applying to the product? I mean, if you even
Yeah.
heard, about some kombuchas where the kombucha it isn't being brewed. There's all kinds of shortcuts because of scale.
Mhm.
And we had the founder of Better Booch on, and he was, spilling the tea.
I like that.
What's happening and how, it's important to do a bit of research on what you're putting in your body. I mean, we've been doing the show for 3 years,
Mm.
3.5 years. I think we're in episode 140 something, and I have learned so much about, gums and fillers
Oh
and
my gosh. And I feel for consumers, I feel for manufacturers because it's like I try not to judge people's decisions until I've walked in their shoes. Because I know, look, like natural flavors is a big one in beverages. I don't buy products that say natural flavors on them. I want to know if that's a real ingredient, why can't you put the ingredient on the label? Natural flavors is a catch-all. I'm not saying it's not safe, but that's definitely a shortcut. If I made my product with natural flavors or like certain, if I went to a flavor house and had them do my formulation, it would probably cost less. It would bring my cost of goods down. It'd probably be a heck of a lot easier. My co-man would probably be happier, but that's a compromise that I'm never going to make. I'm not going to compromise my ingredients. I'm not going to compromise my relationships with the farmers. If there's any cost cutting that could be had with, let's say, like packaging or freight, those are the areas that I can work on getting the cost down.
That's amazing. I love that uncompromising about the right things. That's super cool. Do you have a favorite flavor? I know you're drinking the green tea right now, but what's your favorite flavor?
Yeah, I'm really into the green right now. I generally drink the ginger. Those are the daytime flavors, but they do have caffeine, and I am I've kind of passed. I shouldn't even be drinking this right now. So I will move on to our hoppy hibiscus later today. I'll probably have that after my run because it's really hydrating. It's really refreshing. There's no caffeine, no calories. It's got that fruity flavor from the hibiscus and it's very light citra hops. It's not a bitter hops. It doesn't taste like a beer. And then at night, sometime before bed, I'll usually have our chamomile lime, which really is relaxing to me. And it looks like it could be champagne or white wine. It just feels like, oh, this is something special that I can have at night without, being triggering in any way.
And we can still consume these drinks in a flute, and so there's a
Yeah, the garnish, I will shout out another product that I love, which is All the Bitter. They do an alcohol-free bitters, and I will often use a couple dashes of their bitters in my drinks at night. We have a rooibos vanilla. We work with some farmers in South Africa now for the rooibos, and that's really lovely with their orange bitters. So I'll do a dash of that, some ice, and maybe a garnish of like lemon or orange.
I think the fact that you're drinking it all day and it's on the milder side, with ginger and hibiscus, some of these ingredients you're mentioning are really really impressive. I guess when I always want to make sure that our guests get like the best value from our show. When someone hears about Sarilla for the first time, what do you want them to think?
So I'm getting a lot of positive feedback about our brand name lately. Like, a lot of people this weekend at the festival I was at, was like, they thought it was my name or my daughter's name. Just say it's like a beautiful word. And I love that they're getting that. It's supposed to be just something that rolls off your tongue. Our logo is like a warm hug. It's supposed to just make you smile, um, feel included, accepted, relaxed. We have this beautiful new branded box, which is a story as you're opening it. It has a story, and it's evoking emotions of all the things that I just explained. And so I think it's very much a visual brand. And then, we want you to really feel the love and health in the ingredients. And it does go back all the way to the farm. It goes back to the farmer. Everyone in the supply chain has had a hand in this. And so we want you to feel that network and community with our brand.
In college, I had to read. I think the author is E.F. Schumacher, and the name of the book is "Small is Beautiful." And just that not everything good has to be scaled. My version of that. I was talking with my friend Jeb the other day about we think of our organizations as organisms as opposed to machines. And it feels like that's what you've built. You've built this global organism. I mean, design team in Argentina, South Africa, Rwanda. I mean, it's really that has to feel really good working with all these people, to make your vision a reality.
I like that you said that because it does feel like a lot of pressure to scale, to grow, to have certain metrics year over year, month over month. I have a lot of people ask, like, how big are you? And that question bothers me so much, and they're well-meaning. I don't know why people ask that if they don't know you. I think it's maybe it's a connection point. Maybe it's wondering if we have the staff or budget to pay for whatever they're about to pitch or sell. I know it's a standard question at trade shows, but you're right. Like, it doesn't always, number one, matter about that size. But it also is so relative, and
Well,
I will say, like, the women I work with in Rwanda remind me of that all the time, that like what I think is growth or getting larger, is different for them. And it's also different, our perception of time that it will take to do something. For me, it might be, let's do this in the next 12 months. For them, they'll say, how about the next 5 years? And that's brutal to me. I'm like, that's a lifetime in my world. 5 years. That's like companies die in 5 years. That's where I go in my mind.
yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, really, most companies die in the first year, right?
Yeah.
Most podcasts die after the first episode, by the way.
2 or 3 times I heard that. Most people don't post more than 3 video or three.
Starting a
Yeah.
podcast, we never got past episode 3. So I think, there is a kind of a toxic, I can't believe I'm going here, but it feels good. There's a toxic mentality in the agency world, and I know it exists in CPG. Well, Duncan, what's your exit? It's like, dude, I don't have an exit. I'm not here to exit, And then, Johnny got, 90 million in his exit, and we're just all going to stand around on LinkedIn and clap, and we're going to say, way to go, Johnny. What about all the people along the way, right? We're all excited for Johnny, but what happens to the people that were there on the way, on the bus, making that vision a reality? It's like, it's great that the company got sold, but really, is it that much to celebrate Johnny? What about the team that, brought Johnny's vision into reality? I don't know. Maybe it's just me being cynical, but I feel like that's the wrong thing to celebrate. I'd like to see us celebrate, hey, look at this amazing product. Look at the impact, the social impact that it's having,
I
not
like that.
the net income.
Yeah, the exit, that's a confusing one for new CPG founders too. I work with some and I have people contact me all the time for advice now. And it's, on one side you'll have an investor, asking that question, do you have an exit strategy or what is it? And sometimes I think it's almost a trick question because I've heard some, and I think even Mark Cuban on Shark Tank said this. It's like, I would never invest. I'm pretty sure he said I would never invest in a founder that had an exit strategy already planned out. Like, I want you to build this, be super focused, present, and build this thing as big as you can. But then others want to know you do within even 3 to 5 years, and they want to know exactly what that looks like. So I think I think that the moral of the story is just like, be honest, like answer honestly and be real and authentic. And if you have one, I mean, there's no harm in building a company to sell it. I respect that completely. If that's your goal and you have that, I know some people who are, and they're doing really well, and they'll probably sell in the next couple of years and move on to something else.
I mean, I think it's a healthier way to think about it. It's like, and I mean, I belong to a mastermind, for digital agency owners, and the amount of agency owners that think, hey, I'm going to sell my company, and my goal is to sell the company, and I'm saying, what's the lag goal for a lead goal like that, right? What does the daily behavior look like if your only goal is to sell? Like, do you care about everything that happens along the way? And really, most of American business is small business.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the things that seem to me like with CPG that are important to think about are, hey, what's the backup plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the founder gets sick. What's the backup plan? Or the founder has to leave for a month to go on a trip. What's the backup plan? Are there systems in place? I think those are sort of more interesting ways to look at this, other than kind of this reductionist, hey, how big are you? What's your net income?
Yeah.
Velocity.
You're right. And making sure everyone is somehow taken care of along the way. I think for us, because we are sourcing, and we're sourcing our own ingredients, it's such a big part of our brand ethos that's another thing is like, and I do workshops with our core partners in Rwanda, how to diversify. Don't ever rely too much on one company to buy what you're growing. You've seen that what happens with some brands like Honest Tea, like Vita Coco, like they built out their supply chain. They weren't diversified. And then those companies were acquired or went out of business, and look at how it affected the communities that had gotten so large and relying on them. So making sure that's in place, I think B Corp is an interesting idea to get that mission lock in place so that if you are acquired or merge with another company, you've got those values and mission in place. Hopefully they'll be respected as the company continues to grow. And then, yeah, employees, making sure if the goal is to sell, or if you see that coming down the pike, to make sure like the employees that have invested so much are also going to benefit from the acquisition.
And that it isn't a surprise. I mean,
Right.
a friend of mine sold his 20-person agency without anybody knowing. And, he had run it like a family. We do not run our company like a family, but he had run it like a family. And he got cussed out by some of his employees. Two quit on the spot. I mean, he had problems with fulfilling the contract. And so I think that, let everyone know, be above board. I guess be ethical about it, right? So I wanted to quickly talk a little bit about any exciting things coming up for you that you want people to know about.
Yeah, let's see. Well, we just launched our branded box, so you can go to drinksarilla.com. I'm really excited about this product. It's it's something I've wanted to do for a long time, have everything branded and have this sampler. But it took the time that it took, and now we've got it, and it's a great way to try one of each flavor and decide what your favorite. It's also a great gift idea. I just saw an order of 10 of these boxes come in from one person this morning. And we have, a sale going on right now. So I think, that's a great way to get in on our brand. And then follow us on Instagram. Drink Sarilla is where we're most active. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, Sara Delaney. And stay tuned also for opportunities to travel to Rwanda with us. I did just get back from a trip, but each year we do open it up for small groups. So you can send us a message and find out when our next trip is. We do a 10-day itinerary in Rwanda, and it's probably life-changing for everyone who has done that trip with us. You have the opportunity to meet some of our farmer partners, to see our work on the ground, and also do incredible things like the gorilla trek, like safari, lots of amazing food and tea and coffee. And it's a gorgeous country. It's mountainous. There's hiking and biking and all kinds of things.
I mean, Sarah, you are awesome. You are making the world better. And, for people that are listening, Sarah has a great TED Talk too. And so you can listen to that. And there's just so much great content you're putting out there, Sarah. I really love the way your media page is organized. So, you can see the different things, keep up with the brand and with the founder. So
I also want to say that if you are listening and you work in grocery or food service, you manage a bar or restaurant, we are working with a number of distributors that are around the country, and we're just looking to really grow the number of locations where people can find Sarilla. So definitely reach out if you'd like to work with us and have our product carried at your shop or restaurant or bar, cafe, coffee shop.
I love that. And thank you for doing what you're doing. I always make it a point. We vet our guests, to see that our missions are matched up, and you are the poster child or the poster girl for our making the world a better place. Thank you for doing it. I know I can't imagine actually how much goes into it on a daily basis to make this a reality and change so many people's lives and the impact you're having. So thank you so much to all our listeners. If you want to learn more about Sarilla, support them mission, learn about how you could maybe go to Rwanda or just enjoy a delicious alcohol-free, clean, I want to make sure I say clean tea spritzer that looks great in the can too. Go to drinksarilla.com and don't forget to follow them on social. So Sarah, thank you so much. I mean, I know we thought we were going to go for 20 minutes. We're at almost 50. So thank you so much. And really hope we can talk more in the future and maybe do a panel.
You're welcome. Thank you too. I appreciate the time and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of the Firebelly Social Show. We're all about celebrating brands that make a difference, and Sarilla is such a shining example of that. So I don't have a drink, but I'm going to have one soon. Let's raise a glass of Sarilla, of course, to Sara and her team for all the incredible work they're doing. Thank you for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed this, please come back. Let us know what you think. If you know a founder that we should feature, let us know. And until next time, this is Duncan. Thank you, Sara. And
thanks, Duncan.
Thanks for listening to the Firebelly Social Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.